Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my faithful co-host and adoring wife, Sara Coryell. Sara, we've just added 15 new animals to the family. Tell the folks about that.
We just got some baby chicks, 3 different kinds. They're so cute, just fit in the little palm of your hand, and they cheep so tearily. It's very cute.
Well, they're always cute when they're little. I'm amazed at actually even human babies are like that. They're so cute when they're little. Then they grow up and, well, they're not quite as cute as they were.
Well, all that play turns into actual fighting in the chicken yard, and they can be rough.
Oh, yeah, but with eggs at $7 a dozen, we just need...
Try something?
Well, we've had chickens our whole marriage for 20 years. Close to it.
A lot of it, yeah.
And, for me, it's just like a way of life. But every year you have to replenish the flock a little bit.
Mm-hmm. The predators come in and,
Yeah, well, March, what happens in March? The raccoons come out of hibernation.
And fox every now and again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're hungry. They have to feed their young. So if you're not on top of it, you have to. And what I do is every spring, I'll set out traps, live traps, and I'll get quite a few raccoons, possum, even a skunk once in a while that comes into the chicken coop.
Ooh.
But I recommend that all you folks do that too, because it's a much healthier food. Don't you think? I mean, I can even notice the color of the egg yolk is a lot deeper and oranger.
Yeah, they're wonderful food. And it's fun watching, being closer to nature and seeing how the birds, I don't know, just being closer to the animals is good.
Yeah, and it gives our 3 teenage kids something to do.
It does.
As well.
Yes.
Work ethic, right?
Clean the coop, build the coop, patch the fence, bring in the eggs.
Okay. We'll keep you posted on that, folks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Sara, what's going on with the show today?
Well, Skip, today we are talking to fellow podcaster Royce Bartlett from Shooting Straight Radio, all about abolishing the ATF. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with Bruce Corey, the managing partner of shootingclasses.com.
I kind of like the idea of abolishing the ATF, but we'll get into that more in a little bit here.
All right.
But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. And we'd also like to welcome our newest sponsor, Apple Tree Media. So what's in the news today, Sara?
Trump calls Zelensky a dictator as tensions rise over U.S. negotiations with Russia. President Donald Trump blasted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as a dictator without elections on Wednesday, after the U.S. left Ukraine out of initial peace talks with Russia this week. A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left, Trump wrote on Truth Social. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. Trump added, I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered and millions have unnecessarily died. And so it continues. Zelensky criticized Trump earlier Wednesday in comments to reporters in Kiev after canceling a trip to Saudi Arabia, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Special Envoy Ambassador Steve Witkoff held talks with Russian counterparts, starting negotiations to the end of war in Ukraine. Unfortunately, President Trump, I have always had great respect for him as a leader of a nation that we have great respect for, the American people who have always supported us. Unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space, Zelensky said. Nearly 1 year after the expiration of Zelensky's first 5-year term, the U.S. and Russia are in agreement that Ukrainians must go to the polls and decide whether to keep their head of state. Russia has insisted it will not sign a peace agreement with Ukraine until Ukraine agrees to hold elections, and the U.S. is now floating the idea of a three-stage plan: ceasefire, then Ukrainian elections, then inking a peace deal. Zelensky's term in office was supposed to end last May, with elections originally slated for April 2024. But the president's aides have said elections will not be held until 6 months after the end of martial law. The Ukrainian constitution prohibits holding elections under martial law. With his popularity having plummeted nearly 40% since the war's outbreak, Zelensky's future could be in jeopardy if peace is reached and elections are triggered. Ukrainian advocates say post-war elections would be a far better option, but elections offer Russia an opportunity to sow chaos. The only person that benefits from elections before there's a durable peace deal is Putin. Andrew Danieri, fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center, previously told Fox News Digital. The Kremlin loves elections, not in their own country, but elsewhere, because it provides an opportunity to destabilize things.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah, right?
Yes. Well, it just seems to me that it's in Zelensky's best interest, or certainly the Ukrainian people's best interest, to get peace out of that, because they've been at war for a couple of years now. And man, what did I hear? Like 80,000 people had died fighting over there. It's going on. There's no end in sight. But I think Donald Trump is going to be the one that ends that.
I hope so.
Well, his book, The Art of the Deal, basically he lays out how to negotiate a deal. And he's talking about business, but he takes that same skill set into negotiations with other heads of states. And he just does the same thing. And the nice thing for him is that he holds most of the cards because he's always negotiating from a position of strength, because the U.S. is the strongest, most powerful country on the planet. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. But he has this way of, I guess, pushing people back into a corner and squeezing them. Well, he does. I mean, I at first I wondered, what he's insulting Zelensky, calling him a dictator, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't really know for sure. There's so much that we don't know, but there's always a method to his madness. I mean, sometimes he just talks off the cuff, but I think most of the time he knows what he's doing, and he's doing it all on purpose to bring them to the table. And so he's got to bring two people that probably hate each other to the table. And we'll see what happens. Yeah. But my heart goes out to the Ukrainian people and the Russian people. I mean, they're both dying left and right.
Absolutely.
All right, enough gloom and doom for the planet here. Let's have something bright and happy and cheery here. It's time for our Home Defense Show Hero of the Week. Who's our hero this week, Sarah?
All right. Our hero this week is a hero dog who saves his family from a mountain lion. And here's the story, folks. It was the epitome of a perfect summer day. Sun shining, kids in the pool, and not a care in the world for the Michaelis family. Little did they know what they were about to encounter. A mountain lion was stalking their family without them knowing, but luckily, 7-year-old lab Ella caught wind of the situation and immediately was on guard. She was on point. She's a hunting dog, but she was just on point, said Crystal Michaelis. She kept looking at the kids and then quickly looking back. She was just being very cautious, and my daughter thought it was very concerning. The kids ran inside for safety, but Ella stayed outside and guarded the house. We opened the back door and found Ella just bloodied. There was blood all over the door and all over the patio, said Michaelis. Ella had severe cuts on her head, nose, tongue, neck, and leg. In total, she had 30 bites on her body and a concussion. All injuries were from the shoulder up, Crystal described, which means she never let us down and stayed in that protective stance and defended it. The family lives in the foothills of Cedar Hills, where it is not uncommon to see mountain lions. Footprints were in the yard, but no mountain lion has been spotted since the incident. They've also seen deer wandering through the area, and since deer are kind of the main food source for cougars, they will often follow where deer go, said Faith Jolie, Utah Division of Wildlife Resources Public Information Officer. She is definitely our hero. She can't be replaced, that's for sure, said Michaelis. Ella has received treatment and is expected to make a full recovery from her injuries.
You know, I don't like dogs. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And you love dogs.
Well, there's a lot to love.
So naturally, we got married and we have 2 dogs.
Naturally.
I'm pretty sure our dogs aren't going to chase off a mountain lion.
No, they are not that kind of dog. I'm sorry.
Our dogs weigh like 10 and 15 pounds. They would be, like hors d'oeuvres,
Well,
appetizers for a mountain lion.
you didn't want a big dog who could do that because they could attack a
Well,
person
every once
too.
in a while they turn on their owners.
Right.
But
so we have little dogs who are harmless.
we have little dogs. If I get bit, it's going to be in the ankle, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, sometimes I get bit in the hand while playing.
Yeah,
but,
I think most of our listeners, most people in general, I think they just love dogs.
There's a lot to love.
Yeah.
is.
And then you got to pick up their doo-doo in the yard and take them out for walks in 5-degree weather. But
If it weren't for those dogs, I would stay inside for like weeks at a time. It's good that I have those dogs. It's very good.
well, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
What I was thinking as you were reading that, you and we're going to be taking our converted school bus into, we'll be driving through Utah and I don't know, maybe Washington State, Idaho, Oregon to visit your parents and your family. And that's in mountain lion country.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Have to keep a lookout and keep the dogs on a short leash because.
I was thinking I could go mountain lion hunting and use the dogs for bait.
Oh, you're so kind. My goodness.
Before I get any nasty email about that, yes, I was joking. All right, so Ella the dog in Utah.
Great job, girl.
Yeah, good job. We're proud of you, and you are the Home Defense Show Hero of the Week. All right, so what's coming up in the next segment, Sarah?
Next, we are talking to fellow podcaster Royce Bartlett from Shooting Straight Radio all about abolishing the ATF. Then, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, we'll be speaking with Bruce Corey, the managing partner of shootingclasses.com.
In the meantime, God bless and stay safe, because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Some say his face is painfully ugly, and I agree. But who cares? This is radio. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was a beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have the show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, ShootingClasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. And now I'd like to welcome a good friend of mine back to the show. He's fellow radio personality Royce Bartlett of the Shooting Straight Radio podcast. Royce, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
It's great to be back, Skip. Thanks for the re-invite. Usually I scare people off after one interview. You've been here for 3 now. So.
Well, I'm incorrigible. I don't know any better. Hey, peas and carrots. That's what we are.
Yes, sir.
All right. So for the benefit of all my listeners in the cold and frozen north, right now it's 14 degrees where I'm at here in Michigan. Go ahead, taunt us, tell us, what's the weather like in Florida?
What's a balmy 68 to 70 degrees, and I'm enjoying watching people shoveling snow on my computer from Florida. People in Michigan shoveling snow. I'm not trying to rub your nose in it, Skip, but it's nice down here. Me and the missus are both off today, and so we're enjoying the time to ourselves, and we're actually sitting out on the back in the sun by the pool. At least I will be again after this interview. So we're enjoying the day.
Well, so how many inches of ice do you have on the pool today?
Let's see. It's all actually frozen ice, and about 6 foot in the deep end. So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Liquid snow. We're chest deep in it.
Oh well, last week I went ice fishing, and there was almost a foot of ice on the lake. That's just like a mile from my house. But hey, I'm just crying in my beer, and if I had beer, it'd be frozen. But,
you wouldn't have any trouble keeping it cold out there, would you?
Not at all. All right. Royce, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is this DOGE, Department of Government, what's that last
Efficiency,
name?
yeah.
Efficiency, yeah. Government and efficiency.
Those two words don't usually go together. So.
Yeah, no, they usually don't. And I'm watching from afar as Donald Trump and Elon Musk are just uncovering all of the tremendous waste. And, they're talking about getting rid of entire agencies and departments. And if you were the president of the United States, or if you were Elon Musk, what places would you be getting rid of?
Which departments, like federal agencies?
Yeah.
Everyone that doesn't have a constitutional foundation. Every one of them. Every last one of them. And that will probably be about 99.9% of all of them. I don't read anywhere in the Constitution or even in the writings of our founders where they wanted our government to have any type of federal police force, not even one. And now we've got how many? Many of them heavily armed. Even the U.S. Postal Service is now heavily armed. And I'm like, why? They all have a SWAT team. They're all, they all have armored vehicles. And any agency that has no constitutional standing, if they're not able to perform a constitutional function for our government, and if they are nothing but a bunch of enforcers being used by the government to increase the government's power, then they need to go. And I'm sure you know, and any of my listeners know, that my least favorite agency of all of them is I just call it the toilet of the federal government, and that would be the Alpha Tango Foxtrot. They have a nasty propensity for doing evil, violent things to people, and they need to go. They don't just need to go, but most of their agents need to be sitting behind bars for long, lengthy sentences because of some of the criminality that they're involved in. And it's flabbergasting that these people have any kind of jurisdictional force that they can use against anybody they want to, and they'll even make up charges to come get you if they want. So ATF will probably be my first one, and then I go right down the line until there was no such thing as the Department of Homeland Security. So that was the short version, believe me.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you. Basically, and I asked my wife this same question, and she's not as knowledgeable, but she just has this gut instinct that says the federal government is way too big, they're way too powerful, they invade our lives way more than the founding fathers intended. And I guess I would be inclined to just press the reset button or to reset your computer, right? And go back to the factory settings. I think the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, those are the factory settings. We need to push the reset button and reset it. And, who knows? Maybe we could survive without the FBI or the ATF or Department
we did
of
for
Education.
a long time. We did for a long time. We survived just fine, as a matter of fact, without an income tax. All of our roads and infrastructure were intact and they were maintained. But for some reason, we just had to have this income tax to pay for World War I. It did not disappear thereafter, even though they promised it would never get above 2%. Where are we at now? Taxing is power. And that's where the ATF gets its power from. That's where it originally got its power from, was a taxing unit for the IRS. A lot of people don't understand where this group came from, but that's what they were. And they did a bunch of evil things, even as the ATU, before they became the ATF. So forgive me if I'm ranting. When you get me on a subject like this, Skip, I will run all manner of rabbit trails. I might even stop off for a hot dog along the way, because my brain runs at about 150 miles an hour whenever I get into things like this. So forgive me in advance, okay?
Well, hey, that's why you're here, Royce. And when we're out of time, I'll just let you know, so you can rant as long as you want to. But I guess it stands to reason, if we didn't have all of this these federal agencies, we wouldn't need an income tax in the first place. How are they paying for all this stuff?
We are paying for all that. It makes no sense to me, but it makes sense if you're the federal government, of course, because now you've got all these enforcers surrounding you, and you become one of the protected privileged class, and that's what these guys are. But yeah, we could do just fine without any of the federal agencies. We really can. I don't know why we had to have a federal bureau of investigation when we could have just simply changed a law here and there to grant states jurisdictional power across the lines if bad guys ran across the state lines and things like that, because that's what they claimed was the impetus behind establishing the FBI and everything. But look what they've become now. I mean, this is proof that, things like this, they're like a fire. Fire is very beneficial if you're using it to warm yourself or cook your food, but if you let it get out of control, it will kill you. And that's exactly what we're dealing with now. So we don't need all these federal agencies. They have unfortunately become the standing armor, or not armor, but standing army. in my opinion, that our founders warned us against. So how much deeper you want to go? Because I've got.
Well, you mentioned the analogy of a fire. It can warm you or it can burn you to death.
Mm-hmm.
Fires also have to be fed.
Yes.
And the bigger they get, the more fuel, the more oxygen they use until they're sucking up all their resources. And one of the things I don't like about such a strong federal government is it takes away rights from the states. And it seems like the stronger, the more powerful the federal government gets, the less freedom you and I have. And let's face it, most people, most citizens are scared to death of the federal government. All you have to do is say FBI, IRS, ATF, and people start quaking. And that's not freedom.
No, that is not freedom at all. And it needs to be the exact opposite. The government should tremble. Legislators should tremble when they craft laws. They should be quaking inside thinking, I hope this does not cross a constitutional boundary. Honestly, the best way to fix this mess is to enforce the Constitution, which is exactly all the violations against the Constitution is why we're here now. Yeah. Our government is extra constitutional now. It was beyond the Constitution. And it doesn't consider itself to be subject to its tenets and its precepts. It thinks it's beyond it. Our government thinks they can pass laws now that supersede the supreme law of the land, when all of our founders said no laws that counter this are acceptable. And yet, what have we got? The National Firearms Act of 1934, the Gun Control Act of 1968, and the 20,000 plus in the federal, state, and local level since that day. And it's all because we gave them a foothold. We accepted it. We didn't rise up and say this is garbage and you're not going to enforce it. No, we accepted it. And that's why we're at where we're at today. People need to understand how insidious the ATF actually is. And I told you I was going to probably focus on these guys because they're my pet peeve. They used to be the ATU, the Alcohol Taxing Unit, as I said earlier. And at one point, they decided in order to scare people away from drinking the homemade liquor, that they would introduce poisoned alcohol into the underground system and the underground supply, knowing that people would drink it.
That's not very neighborly.
No, it's not. It's not only that, it murdered over 10,000 Americans. Over 10,000 Americans. You can Google this. This is common knowledge. Over 10,000 Americans died because the ATU took it upon themselves to teach us little citizens a lesson and kill a bunch of us with poisoned alcohol so we would drink the government-sanctioned alcohol and the federal government would not lose revenue. I tell you, it's taxation is one of the largest ways that governments seize power. And this is one way they certainly did that. None of those agents that did that ever were even so much as arrested for it. None of them were called down. And so it's kind of, once they were transformed into an independent agency in 1972, it's little wonder that they do what they do today, murdering citizens at will, burning 80 plus men, women, and children to death at Waco, and other garbage they've started, other high profile cases. They're never held accountable because the Constitution is never enforced against them. They willfully and wantonly violate the Second Amendment and all the rest of them too, for that matter, and they've never been held accountable for it. Over 10,000 Americans died, nobody held accountable. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they still do what they do. Matter of fact, there was a guy named Charles Norris back in the early 1920s, around the time the poisoning started happening, and it was traced back to the federal government. He was the chief medical examiner of New York. He referred to this as the federal poisoning program and also called it our national experiment in extermination. That's pretty powerful coming from that guy right there. That says a lot about the power that our government thinks it has and the rights that it thinks it has, that they can kill you at will. Well, I got something to say about that because there is a Second Amendment. So
Yeah.
I'm going to yield back to you, Skip, because I could go on forever, brother.
Well, see, that's the thing. This didn't happen overnight. It's like every year or so they'd add a layer, to the federal bureaucracy,
Yep.
and it's no wonder that they feel like they're impervious, unaccountable to the American people, because it's so difficult for us to get at them. I mean, look at Donald Trump right now.
Yeah.
You would think that, hey, he's the boss. He's in charge of the executive branch. He can go in there. He can clean house. He can, try and make things right and reset things the way they're supposed to be. But man, look at what the past 8-10 years. What has that man gone through? Simply because he's trying to reset things to the way the Constitution wants them to be.
Well, exactly. And if you think about how they brought the power of the federal government and multiple state governments against Donald J. Trump, filing false charges against him, knowingly false charges against him, trumping up all sorts of things against him, pardon the pun there, trumping, but creating, literally, creating what should I say, violations of the law and bringing forth false witnesses ad nauseum who, I mean, and of course the media convicting him in the court of public opinion on top of that. And suddenly it's little wonder that they're pointing to a man who's now been elected in a massive landslide and referring to him as the felon president.
Yeah.
The federal government is way too big if they have the power to destroy innocent Americans. But here's the sad part of this, Skip. This is something they've been doing to a lot of people, a lot of no-name people, people without the political clout or the financial clout of Donald J. Trump, and they are sitting in prison to this day. Many honorable, innocent people who simply ran afoul of some agent somewhere, or the agent decided he saw something that wasn't there and began to craft and create his charges against him. There are people that are languishing in prison right now exactly like they want Donald Trump to be. Our federal government is way too strong. It really is. And I tell you something, Skip, I really believe if it wasn't for all of us Americans who are armed with weapons that are battle capable, we'd have probably been overrun a long time ago. But they do pay attention to the fact that there are millions of us and that we definitely outnumber them if we decide to, take our country back. And they know this. And if they didn't know this, then people like Swalwell and Biden would be threatening us with nukes and F-15s.
Yes.
The only time you would need them is if you're fighting a bunch of guys with AR-15s and you're overwhelmed and you want to call in air support or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's taken, 250 years almost to get to this point.
Yeah.
How do you think Donald Trump's doing? If you give him a grade, what grade would you give him so far?
I would absolutely give him an A+. I really would. He moved faster than I thought he would. Yeah. I mean, right after the inaugural ball, the man was at his desk working. I don't know any other president that's done that. But I think he understands.
Celebrate, don't they?
No, yeah. I think he understands the urgency of cleaning up this country and the urgent necessity of it. And you and I know this. So many of our peers know this. We all see how bad this country has gotten. And we do need someone like him who's got the testicular fortitude to go in there, put his pen to paper, and then put his people to work, especially putting men like Tom Homan going out there rounding up all the illegals. I got to meet Tom a few weeks ago, matter of fact, at a big Constitution Day dinner. Actually, it was last year. And that dude, he and I must share a relative somewhere because we were all pissed off at the same thing.
Yeah. Donald Trump, he surprised me too. He didn't surprise me in that he's doing what he said he would do. It's like warp speed. He's doing this.
He's blitzkrieging them, if they really want a Nazi term, you know.
Yeah.
They want to call
Yeah.
him a Nazi. Well, he's blitzkrieging them. I don't think they know whether to scratch their watches or wind their butts. He's hitting them left and right. It is almost like watching a boxer hit another man so hard, so fast, and so many times that he thinks he's surrounded.
Yeah.
I think they think that Donald Trump is surrounding him, and good.
Yeah.
I really do hope that we can clean this country up. Unfortunately, I think, like you and I are thinking, this is great. It's a good start, but it has to go further.
Yeah.
And who's going to continue to carry that torch after Donald Trump? And we need to think about the after Donald Trump years too. Who's going to pick up that torch? Who's going to pick up that sword and say, "Hey, we're going to continue this fight"? And we need somebody strong. We need somebody like him who takes a shot to the ear and stands up and says, "Fight, fight, fight." That's exactly what we need. We need a man with cojones.
Yeah. And that's what I think about. I think about, okay, he's going to go in there. He's going to clean up the mess. But, you know, it's like gardening, right? I've got a vegetable garden and the weeds grow. I go in, I pull out all the weeds, and a week later, there's more weeds growing. It's an eternal thing, you know. Eternal vigilance is what we have to have.
Yes,
and
sir.
I wonder, you know, who will come after Donald Trump? He's got 4 years. Will it be? What's your opinion of J.D. Vance so far?
So far, I like him, and I think he has the what should I say, the discipline of his military background that he relies on heavily. I really do. I think he's got, if he is voted in after President Trump, I think it would be good. But to tell you the truth, in spite of the fact that I like him and he does have muy grande cojones, I really do. I would love to see him, and I hope this is probably going to make liberals apoplectic. I would like to see J.D. Vance just a little bit leaner and meaner.
Oh,
I really would. It's somebody who is chomping at the bit to be let off the leash as soon as Donald Trump is done with his second term, and somebody who wants to get in there and pick up that mantle and keep pressing the advantage. Look, we got the momentum right now. We do, politically and everything. We have the momentum. We cannot let up. We cannot stop. We have to press and keep pressing, because I think it's going to take a whole lot more than just 4 years to clean this garbage up. I think it's going to take a lot more than that. It took more than that to destroy this country and put it in the condition it's in. I think it's going to take more than that to fix it. Like you said, there's always going to be weeds that need to be pulled. And those insidious little seeds of tyranny are all deep in the ground, all over the place, and they like to spring up and do their dirty deeds. So, yeah, we always got to be weeding this garden. Absolutely.
Well, I'm excited. I like getting up every morning and scanning the headlines and seeing what's happening. It's great. We've waited a long time for this. We fought hard for this. But there's no time to celebrate. There's just time to keep right on and working harder and harder and harder. And I know you and I both do that. We're about out of time already, Royce, and I'm keeping you from your swimming pool there in the deep south. But tell people before you go, how can they listen to the Shooting Straight radio podcast?
First, I want to let everybody out there know that really, no matter how bad you might hate the ATF, it's not enough. It needs to be more. You need to hate them harder and deeper. You need to have a deep loathing in your heart towards these totalitarians, because they are the antithesis of liberty. And you can hear more garbage like that on the Shooting Straight Radio podcast. You'll find it on all of the major podcast platforms and all. Actually, it's on like 20 different platforms out there. If you're on Spotify, Amazon Music, you can say, Alexa, play Shooting Straight Radio. Any of them. iHeart is still my biggest producer of listeners and stuff, and they're all over the world too. So just look for Shooting Straight Radio, or Google Royce Bartlett, or Google Shooting Straight Radio podcast, whatever, and you'll probably find it on your podcast platform.
Awesome. All right. Well, Royce, I want to thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today and for all your hard work trying to realign our country.
Yes, sir. Well, we're all in that fight, brother. I appreciate what you do. I really do believe, again, that it's people like you and I and all of our fellow keepers and bearers that have kept those totalitarians outside the fence, just and not overrunning us yet, so to speak. So,
and that's why we keep our powder dry.
Yes, sir. And never forget, incoming rounds always have the right of way, right?
That's right. All right. Thank you, Royce.
Thank you, Skip. I appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna be talking to you here in a day or two because I finally got my sound system fixed where I can have guests back on again, and I would love to have you on. So I hope you'll commit to that here on the air in front of all your witnesses.
Hey, I will look forward to that.
Okay. all right, brother, man. Talk to you soon.
This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll get some expert advice on the details of self-defense in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with Bruce Corey, the managing partner of shootingclasses.com. All right, folks, during the break, I want you to log into rumble.com and search on the Home Defense Show. I posted a series of entertaining and educational videos there just for you. Check them out, and don't forget to like, share, and follow. God bless and stay safe, because we will be right back.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
He's no Einstein, but he can read and write and feed himself just like a big boy. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. And I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Appletree Media, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with Bruce Corey, the managing partner of shootingclasses.com. Bruce, thanks for coming back on the Home Defense Show today.
Hey, Skip. Always great to be here, even on these cold winter mornings.
Yeah.
Good to get together and talk, catch up.
You know, one of the things that I love about the shootingclasses.com self-defense report is I get to talk to firearms instructors from all over the country.
Yep.
And during the wintertime, being from Michigan, I love talking to people from the South because they get to tell me about, oh yeah, it's 75 degrees today. And I don't know, on the one hand, I'm a little envious, but on the other, it's good to know that somebody is warm somewhere.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, Bruce, why don't you tell people about shootingclasses.com, everything that they offer, and maybe some of the new stuff that you got or what's coming up?
Sure, always happy to promote shooting classes. We are now in, I believe the latest I looked, 47 states that we've got instructors, plus we've got DC, Puerto Rico. So it's pretty well. I think we've covered about as much of the U.S. map as we're going to cover. Maybe those other few states might catch on here one of these days, but anyway, we've got a good mix of instructors. Probably the last I looked, we had over 500 NRA instructors. We had about 325 USCCA instructors. Some of those are both NRA and USCCA. And then we've got, oh gosh, I don't know, 300 instructors that really are the former military, law enforcement, civilian instructors that really rounds out, the type of classes that students can find. If a person goes on to shootingclasses.com, they can search for a class by their zip code, by their state, or for a specific instructor. But they can also filter by the type of class that they're looking for. And we right now have got, I think it's right at 50 different types that a student can search for, from basic introductory to advanced to very advanced force on force type classes to medical classes, learn how to use a tourniquet, things like that, as well as the sport shooting classes. We've got instructors, which as I had mentioned to you before, I think the sport shooting is good as long as you've had good basic training, tactical training, and then apply that training not as a sport, but as a ability to just practice what you've learned before. So we're doing that. We're right now in the middle of adding some new enhancements. We always listen to instructors about things that they feel would be of value, and we evaluate them. If they look good, then we implement them. We're even adding a couple new types right now. One is children's classes, because more and more instructors are getting to do children's classes. And most instructors don't even know this yet, but we allow an instructor to do a free class on shooting classes, so that if you're doing something like that, like a intro class, to be able to draw people in for your type of classes or for children's classes, people can go and actually it'll show what the normal price of the class is, but then it'll say free class register, so they can take any class they want, make it a free class, sign up, and just if it's a parent or guardian, put their child's name in and do a free class. So that's a good thing. In addition to that, well, we've got the NRA show coming up here in April down in Atlanta. So we're getting ready for that. I want to go down there, meet as many instructors as we have that are going to be at the show. That, I talk to people all the time, but I just don't get to meet them face to face. So it's a good way to accomplish that. So I'm looking forward to that.
You got a lot of variety. You got a lot of growth, and the actual the application when you log in to the website, it's easy to use, user friendly. So yeah, nothing but good things with shootingclasses.com. All right. Well, now, Bruce, let's transition into the Home Defense Show self-defense report here. We've got a good one this week. It's not a long article, but there's a lot in it and a lot of different issues that we can talk about here. So I'm interested to see, what is Bruce Corey gonna say about all this stuff. So here we go. A 14-year-old girl fired a 9mm pistol at someone looking to break into her home, according to the Lawrence County Constable Association, and confirmed by the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. On Sunday, two men in a white sedan pulled up to a home in Blaine. One got out of the car and repeatedly tried to gain entry by trying to kick in the doors. Inside the home were three teenage girls, who responded by calling 911. They were home alone at the time, with their father at work and their mother at the store. At one point, the man who was trying to break in circled around to the backyard and was prepared to bust open a window with a shovel. When this was about to happen, the man and his driver began to start arguing. During that argument, the youngest of the teenage girls in the home, only 14 years old, had found and loaded the 9mm pistol. Once she noticed the argument between the man with the shovel and the driver, she fired the gun in their general direction and they left. Lawrence County Constable Daniel Castle and Lawrence County Sheriff's Deputy Corey Cook responded to the 911 call and were unable to find the two men after searching for several hours. Quote, I think she did take some necessary steps to protect herself, Castle said of the young girl's actions. Although she could have done a little bit better, considering that she was 14 years old, she did a good job. I encourage everyone that can legally carry a firearm to carry a firearm to protect themselves and their families just in case the need arises. All right. There's a lot there. So I'm interested I know what I think, but I'm interested in what Bruce Corey thinks.
Well, like you said, there's a lot there, and at the same time, there's not a lot there. There's a lot of things that we'd like to know but don't know. But that's good because it allows you and me to speculate on what could have happened, what should have happened, and things like that. So the first thought that came through my mind was the old saying, all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
And this was definitely one of those scenarios where a lot could have gone wrong, but at the same time, it ended well. The little girl, nobody was hurt. And I guess that's the good part of it. Nobody was hurt.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, I'm curious. What could have gone wrong in this particular scenario?
Well, there's also another saying that every bullet hits its target, meaning that what that gun was aimed at, whether the person was intending to shoot something or not, that bullet hit its target. And there's another old saying out there, I think this was a Clint Smith saying, that every bullet has a lawyer attached to it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The question did the lawyer get activated?
Yeah.
So we've got a situation here where a couple of things. Number one, I mean, we can get back to how the girl got her hands on the gun, how she managed to load it. Did she have any training, parents' involvement and all that? But she did. And she fired the gun. I think it said in the general direction.
Yes.
Two guys. Well, when you think about it, and we talk about a bullet that it travels at so many feet per second. And that doesn't really equate too much to people. But if you translate that to that bullet's actually going upwards of 800 miles an hour, and it can travel as much as 2.5, 3 miles before it's going to stop on its own. That bullet could have hit anything. It could have hit one of the officers responding. It could have hit the mother coming back home from shopping, somebody walking down a street or whatever. So everybody's very fortunate that apparently the bullet never hit anything where it could do any harm. So that's my first thought on that. Different states where it can actually be against the law to not have a firearm locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it that this little girl was able to get her hands on a firearm? And it says load the firearm. So I don't know if she had to manually load a magazine or just put the magazine, rack it, or even what pistol or revolver. But nonetheless, it speaks to that potential issue of a parent's going to say, ooh, did I properly train my kids how to deal with a gun or be around a gun? So a lot of things I think about that. Yeah. The other thing I think about is this person was on a mission. You don't go and break into a house in the middle of the day when you can see that people are inside because you're going to steal something.
Right.
It may be to steal something because my guess is this person, whenever they find him, knew this family and there was some specific reason that he wanted inside that house.
Well, 3 teenage girls.
That could be that as well. You don't know. It could be some object in the house. Literally, I hate to think that it would be the 3 girls, but it could be. It could be kidnapping. It could be who knows what. Not a good situation, but again, all's well that ends well. And I'm glad that it worked out. And I'm sure the parents are going to be having some discussions with their daughters. I also thought it was interesting that it was the youngest of the 3 daughters that went and got the gun, not the oldest or the next oldest one. And it didn't say what the other ages were, but usually the youngest one is the gutsiest one too. So
yeah. That could be. Bruce, what occurred to me when I was reading this, because I had the same reservations. I mean, anytime someone, an innocent person uses a gun to protect themselves and no other innocent people were hurt, okay, yeah, all's well that ends well. But I guess I would just like to see, like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when I was growing up, my parents taught me how to use a gun.
Yep.
I mean, we never locked up our guns. They were
Oh,
leaning in the corner,
yeah,
in case we had to shoot a crow or a woodchuck or something.
exactly.
But we got the training, the safety training.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the states where it's illegal to just leave your guns unlocked when there's kids around. I mean, my home state of Michigan is one of those states. But I think when it comes to kids and guns and parents teaching their kids, if you're going to have guns in the house, you've got to teach your kids at the very minimum what you want them to do with a gun or not do with a gun, and how to be safe
Yes.
with that gun. I mean, this was in Kentucky, which is going to be, a very gun friendly state, and as the constable said, he was not going to say anything bad about what was happening because everything turned out okay.
He handled
But
it well.
yeah, and you mentioned shootingclasses.com, where you've got children's safety classes on there as well. I think we're gonna see more of those, and we need to have more of those out there in the future.
I agree. You really need, I think every household should have a gun, provided they want to. But having too many people go out and buy a gun and then go put it in a dresser drawer somewhere, and sometimes never even shoot it or only shoot it once and put it away. And I've got my gun. I've done what I need to do. And
Yeah,
training is good at all ages, including
yeah.
children.
Well, a lot of people they treat the gun like a teddy bear. It's like, okay, I've got my teddy bear. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It makes me feel safe. But this is a gun. It's not a teddy bear. And teddy bears don't go bang. They don't blow up when you hug them. So there's some training necessary.
Yeah, good analogy.
All right. Well, any final words on this scenario, Bruce?
Well, I think every parent listening should give this some thought, a little reflection about, especially if you have kids. How do I store my gun? What access do I allow to my guns? Do my kids know how to use a gun? Do they know when and when not to? The one thing we didn't mention was, and I think was in there, that they did when this first started to occur, they called 911.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I think those are the kind of things that you want to go over with your kids about what to do when something happens. Are the doors locked? How secure are you? Where can you be in this house so that if somebody does get in, where can you be in the safest location? But definitely 911. 911 doesn't put somebody there immediately, but yet it's usually pretty quick.
Yeah. Whenever we do the self-defense report, every instructor always tells me the same thing. They'll say, well, I want more details. I want to know exactly what
Yeah,
happened. But that hardly ever happens when you're dealing after the fact. We could do a much better analysis if we had like video
yeah,
as it was happening, but we
yeah.
don't have that. So, we deal with principles and on gun safety and things like that. We do the best we can with what we got. But Bruce, you did a good job. Thank you very much.
Good to be here. Always good to talk, Skip.
All right. And everyone can go to shootingclasses.com to check out Bruce Corey and that great organization. All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, Apple Tree Media for website security, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. All right, I've written 20-plus books. They're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my novel, Stalking Natalie. It's a great story about how a firearms instructor empowers a woman to take down a serial killer. And also check out the Home Defense Show videos on Rumble.com. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!